Welcome. Welcome to today's session on how to reduce decision fatigue in the kitchen. So you probably feel it before you care what it's called. That feeling as you go through the day, you just start feeling like mushier or more scattered, or just takes more energy to think or make choices or decide things. And so one of the things we talk about is clearing space, clearing your environment to make better decisions. And so one way to do that is meal planning. Now, I don't know about you, but I know that's a good thing to do. And it seems like it should be simple and obvious, like any human being could do this. So why the heck is it so I don't know. I don't enjoy it. I procrastinate. And so I brought on Kare to help me and the rest of you with some tips because she is a kitchen coach and she's a busy mom juggling all kinds of things. So I know she lives what she speaks and she loves it. So welcome, Kare. And tell us a little bit about us. Tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and why you do it, and then bring us some tips.
All right. I'd love to. Thank you so much. I'm Kare and I'm a kitchen coach, as you said, and that means I help busy moms meal plan. And the way I kind of got into this, I always loved to cook, but I took a break from my full-time job teaching several years ago and I started cooking for families. I've always loved to cook. And so once I had all this time, people were like, oh, can you cook for me and meal plan? And I was like, yes, I would love to. So I started doing that. And then we adopted a daughter and I couldn't spend all that time cooking. So I transitioned online to help moms meal plan because being in their homes, I saw like what were the obstacles and what were the concerns, and the decision fatigue is so real. And I really found that one, a lot of moms want to be the one that cooks for their family. It's kind of like whenever I talk to people about, sorry, I have something flying in front of my computer. When I talk to moms about cooking and recipes and meal planning, like, oh, can you just cook for me and be my personal chef, And that's kind of the joke. And like, it sounds really good. But
Mhm.
once I was actually in people's homes doing that, there was also this sense of, I want to be able to do it. And
Hmm.
so
Love
it's
language, right? It's a comfort. It's a security. It's like a home building thing. Do
absolutely. And
that.
it's what
Yeah.
we should love to our families,
Yeah.
And so a lot of moms and dads, and, that's what they want. And so I definitely wanted to help more moms be able to do that. But also the other thing I found was, we kind of talk about recipe. If I could just find the right recipe or the meal plan that's, meals in 30 minutes and it's kind of this idea that it's out there. And it's like, if I could just find the next meal plan, right? The right one.
Mhm.
And more so it's really about the logistics of meal planning. And that's what I call kind of what do I do when? And, I got to remember to thaw that. And,
Mhm.
what's the quickest meal when I'm running late, or how do I reheat something from the freezer?
Mhm.
Freezer meals are a great idea, but it's like, okay, now it's in the freezer. What do I do with it? You know?
Exactly. Like, oops,
So
there goes that meal plan.
yeah, exactly. So I discovered kind of all these things that were getting in people's way. And so that's really when I transitioned online, I focused on that. And
Mhm.
it's amazing to be able to kind of come along a mom and say it can be easy. Whether or not it's going to be something you absolutely love to do is yet to be seen for many of my clients when I start working with them. And if you don't love cooking, you may not love it as much as I do,
Yeah.
but it can get easier. It can be one of those things that you don't dread.
Mhm.
um, and the decision fatigue can be absolutely lifted, and the mom guilt, that's really one of the things that I feel like is one of the great things that when I work with clients, they're just like, the guilt is lifted. And
Yeah.
part of that is you're being intentional and you're doing
Mhm.
something intentional to make it better, which is such a big step. And also, you're making recipes with ingredients you recognize, and you're getting them on the table. And, the time you go out to eat or order pizza or whatever, there's just no guilt about it, because you're also in this other area doing something really intentional and really good.
Yeah, I can see that, because sometimes by the time you go through the stress of deciding it, you're feeling a little bit haphazard. It's a little scattered. You've got a few things going in at once. So by the time you're like putting on the table and you're like, if you say one word about your opinion about this meal, you are going to love this because I made it with love, and darn it, you're going to be right. And so it's so many things compounded by not meal planning, or just feeling scattered while you do it. By the time you pick something and then cook it and realize it took you longer, and you had to improvise and adapt it along the way, and finally get it on the table, hopefully in time before you got to run out and do something else, or just sit and relax and be present with your family, because that's where mom guilt comes in first. Yeah. So you're saying there's like possibly a way to avoid all of that, other than like what I do is delegate cooking to my husband.
There you
I
go.
just hope that it all disappears. And he's very gracious, and he's just better at coming up with things. He doesn't, I don't know. He's better at coming up with things to cook and faster at making it happen. So I defer to him often, and he doesn't mind.
Well,
But
that's nice. That's a great partnership.
yes, but not everybody has that, and it doesn't work all of the time. We tag team a lot. So tell us, is there like a good way to do this? How do we actually reduce the decision fatigue so that it happens without causing our family more stress or ourselves more stress?
No, that's such a good point. It's not fun to bring stress into it. So yes, I have some great ways to do it that take away the stress and the decision fatigue. And I love that it is Thursday today, and we're doing this on a Thursday, because that is where I always start. I call it Think Ahead Thursday, and it's the day that you start thinking about meal planning. You're not meal planning, and you don't have to do everything on Thursday, but you're just thinking about it. You're getting it on your radar. The meal planning software that I use, and I use with some of my clients, it has a reminder. So I get a text every Thursday that says, just remember meal planning, right? It's just like, get it on your radar, because it's Thursday. So I have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday until Monday shows up. So I give myself some time. Yeah. And so Thursday is the day that you start thinking, I was on that food blog the other day, and there was that recipe I wanted to make. And so I'm going to go actually find it. Right. Or I remember that my kids said we haven't had spaghetti in a while. And so I'm going to actually like pin that down and make it something, instead of it just being this thing that's Sunday afternoon. I'm like, I think somebody said something they wanted to eat this week. I wonder what it was. So it's just the day that you start like getting it on your radar and start thinking about things. And one of the things that I really find is an obstacle to meal planning is that kind of like, it's in your mind, but where is the recipe? And like actually get the recipe where you know where it is. You've either bookmarked the recipe, or you've gotten it out of I'm a big hard copy recipe person. I have a binder, you find it. So then when the weekend does come around, it's not like, oh yeah, I had this great meal plan, but I really actually have no recipes to go grocery shopping. So it's just a good day to get started, so you don't feel rushed and you don't feel overwhelmed. And, it just gives you some space. It gives you some breathing room, and it just gives you a place to start. So I love Think Ahead Thursdays.
Think Ahead Thursday. All right. So everybody, this is your day. Whatever day it is, pretend it's Thursday, start thinking ahead. But we don't have to meal plan yet.
That's right. It's just like think about it and get it on your radar. So once you are aware and you're remembering, like, I need to meal plan and I love meal planning for my family, then, you can get those recipes together. And once you start doing it, it's so helpful to remember, like, what did we eat last week? Well, let's eat some different things. Or because food ruts is one of the biggest things I help moms with. It's just like, get me out of this rut of making the same things over and over again. And so when you have that time, you can look for different recipes if you want to. I provide recipes for my clients, so they don't even have to think about it. But Pinterest is a great place to go. I mean, food blogs, but you get the recipes and you just say, these are the recipes I'm going to make next week. And you get that grocery list, and you find a time to shop or have your groceries delivered, which I don't do. I love grocery shopping, but I know a lot of people have their groceries delivered. And so it gives you, that time and space, Thursday, Friday, maybe Saturday. That's when you get the recipes and the groceries done. And then another really great thing to do, a great tip that I start with always, is when your groceries get into your kitchen, whether that's delivery or you've gone to the store, is prep your ingredients. Just right there. Don't take your onions out or your peppers out or whatever and put them in the fridge. You're wasting time. Take it out of the bag, wash it, and you've got your recipes together, so you know that the peppers need to be diced, or you need to brown your meat for taco night. So you don't have to do the whole week, but just put a dent in it if you can. If you have time, just take out those fresh ingredients and prep them, and then put them in the fridge. And then taco night, it's like all I have to do is get the stuff out and warm it up. And so it's just so much quicker during the week to have, and as you know, and as we're talking about, Emily, it's the thinking that's already been done, right?
Yeah.
So the thinking and a little bit of prep ahead, and it just makes it go so much faster. And you can sit down at the table with your family and you're not stressed out, because you haven't spent all day worrying about what you're going to eat and, hours cooking. Like, it's just ready to go, and you just take it out of the fridge and you get it together, and your family has a great meal. So that is definitely the number 2 tip that I share with my community, is take that prep time and just prep it right after you get the groceries.
How long would that normally take you?
To prep the ingredients for the week? Well, that's a great question. And it totally depends on
Recipes, of course,
what you're making and how much time you have. And like I say, you don't have to do it all, but usually when I do it, if I'm doing, let's say, 6 dinners for the week, and like we have one night where we, it's just a free for all.
Yeah, leftovers.
Yeah, exactly. I can prep a lot of ingredients in about an hour. So I get home from the store and I prep I prep all of my produce, my meat, like if I have to marinate something, or, like I say, chop or dice or whatever, maybe 45 minutes or an hour, depending on how much you're cooking and how many people you're cooking for, that matters. But it's totally doable. And I encourage my clients and my community to build it into, like, when you think, oh, I'm just going to go grocery shopping real quick, I'll be there 45 minutes. But if you can find a block of time where you actually can tack on that prep time, it's helpful. I do have, obviously some people are busier than others. And so, I work with moms who are like, there's no way I have a 2-hour block to go grocery shopping and prep it all. And so just prep one meal. If you can let's say you prep on Sunday for the meal you're going to eat Monday. Well, then while the meal's cooking on Monday, you're prepping for Tuesday.
Right. Feels better that way somehow. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's kind of 2 different ways to approach it. And generally the clients I work with one-on-one, they fall into one of those categories. I want to take a block of time and prep on the weekend, and I give them a step-by-step guide of how to do that. Or I want to prep a little bit every night, and while Monday night's dinner's warming up, I'm prepping for Tuesday. So Tuesday's easy. And then while Tuesday's warming up, I'm so there's just a lot of ways that you can make it faster and easier.
Yeah.
And it's not, I feel like there's this thing about us as moms and women, and definitely in the Christian world, that we're just supposed to know how to do it, right?
Yeah.
We're women, we're mom. I'm just supposed to
just
know
common sense.
Yeah. And that just gets under my skin, because anything else in life, if I don't know how to do it, I'm going to go learn, or I'm going to find somebody to help me, or, you know what I mean? And
or what we think we should know how to do, often it's because it was modeled to us somehow.
Yeah.
and everybody had a different model
Yeah.
in life as well, or who we compare ourselves. So it could be like, well, it should be like this. And you can never reach that bar that you set for yourself. So you think that's the only way, and then you just shut down.
Yeah, no, that's so right. And I didn't grow up, my mom was not a meal planner, or, I mean, she put meals on the table, but I didn't learn how to cook with her, or my grandma, or, it just, and a lot of people are like that. And it's just like, this isn't just intuitive.
Mhm.
Like, you look for help. And so I also just like to help kind of lift some of that, because that's part of the guilt, is I should just know how
Yeah.
to do this. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's not reasonable. And you wouldn't put that on anyone else. You know what I mean?
Right.
But we put it on ourselves. So, I always just encourage as well to just start small. I mean, if it's, so let's say it comes around to the Thursday of the week and you're like, I remember somebody saying a think ahead Thursday. I'm going to just plan one meal for next week. Like, if you plan nothing right now, or it's hard for you,
Mhm.
or just plan one meal, and that's fine. That's a great place to start. And then you get that rhythm down, and then you can add to it. And then,
Mhm.
you double a recipe and you have leftovers, and the leftovers don't have to be eaten the next day, because doesn't everybody's family say, I don't want to eat the same thing 2 days,
Yeah.
it's like, you can put it in the fridge and eat it a couple days later. You can put a new side item with
Mhm.
it. And then suddenly, the family doesn't think we're eating the exact same thing. So there's just a
Right.
lot of like practical, simple things that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. And that's, my message is, meal planning does not have to be all or nothing. Just start where you can start, and start small, and
Yeah.
build on it. And if one recipe is better for your family,
Mhm.
this week than it was last week, that's a win. And I was listening to somebody on the radio recently saying, if that saying, like, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well,
Yes.
and she was like taking the spin on it. She's like, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing poorly. She's like, if you don't brush your teeth for 2 whole minutes, but you brush them for 30 seconds, it's better than nothing.
Mhm.
And I just, like, that so resonated with me, because I'm so not about like all or none.
Yes, because that perfectionism, that comparison, it just sneaks in
Yeah.
so fast. And for
Yeah.
me, it's usually my own against my own expectations, um, or my husband's taste buds, or my daughter's picky taste buds, or whatever it is. And I shut down, because I was like, well, someone's gonna complain.
Yeah.
It was really motivating actually last week. So for everybody who doesn't know, Carrie did some great, like, you did a soup challenge. It was right, 5 days of soup recipes. Well, I didn't have, there's always some ingredients I didn't have in the soup, so I didn't make them, but I was looking at them every day, and I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, my husband doesn't like soup, and my daughter doesn't like mixed foods. And so I was like, this isn't going to go very well, but I love it. I love the dump things in a pot and mush it all together, and it's cooked kind of recipe. And so I was like, to me, that's, my style. And I had to stop that when that wasn't everybody else's style. But I was looking at it saying, okay, well, what is it I have? And then I went to just a fallback of recipe my mom made. It was probably like a leftover soup, and it was just whatever was left over. At the end of each meal, she would dump vegetables in a container in the freezer. If there's anything left over, she would just put it in a container. And at the end of the week, she'd take out that container, put it in, either ground some beef or cook some chicken, and it would all be in a soup. And that was what we had Sundays.
Yeah.
And so I hadn't done that for a while. My daughter was really picky. My husband complained, blah, blah, blah. But last week I was like, nope, this is Carrie's recipes. I'm at least going to make one soup, and I'm going to make it with whatever I have, because I don't enjoy shopping. So, and actually I was going to go get cauliflower for one of your recipes. And then my husband went out, and I'm like, well, there goes that. I had to stay home with my daughter, and I was like, nope, we're going to make it whatever we have. And I just like, what do I have? And so I did. I made it was basically chicken noodle soup. I actually had all of the things. And then I made it because I was more motivated to make dinner for a new mom than my own family. So I made it for her, doubled it. We had some left over, and I'm like, at least if nobody likes it, it felt worthwhile because I was making it for somebody else. And so then I, the next day I was like, oh, like they're probably going to complain. I added a bit more salt, and then I actually added a white flour base. So I just did a white sauce base, just thickened it up a little bit. And my daughter started eating it, and she's like, wow, this is so good, mommy. Why don't you like make stuff like this all the time? She's like, I could eat this for dessert. And I was like, what is happening? And then my husband takes a bite, and he's like, whoa, what happened to the soup? It's good. Like, wow. So much that I made another one the next day because my daughter was asking for it again. And I was like stunned the entire week. Like, what just happened? And now I'm like, yeah, now I'm like, okay, when do I have a chunk of time to go repeat this experience? It's motivating because the family actually appreciated it, which you don't always have control out of, but those are inspiring moments.
So great. That's so great.
Again, yes.
Yes, I always encourage moms to put some new stuff in front of your family, even if they think that they're not going to, and it doesn't have to be the whole meal, but serve it on the side and see what they say. Yeah. And it's surprising how you could go a couple years with somebody saying, I don't like, whatever category of food. And then suddenly they like it. So yeah, that's such a great story. I just love that. And I love, when you make it for somebody else, that makes a big difference too. So yeah, experimentation is wonderful in the kitchen, and just putting new things. My husband always said he'd never eat Brussels sprouts. I'm not going to eat, like it was just a no-go. And I would make them for myself the way I make them. And finally one day he was like, I want to try one of those. And so he did. And now he loves the way I make them. I roast a little cashews, a little maple syrup. And he's like, this is the only way I'll eat these, but they're so good. And so these whole, like, I'm never going to eat that, or I hate this or whatever. I just, I kind of take that with a grain of salt and, put some new stuff in front of them, and you'll be surprised.
Love that.
It's the food ruts, right? It's the food ruts our family doesn't like, just like we don't like them, but when you try something new, sometimes it's a winner.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Kare. So I know you have way more tips to share us. You constantly have great challenges, recipes, ideas, tips. Tell us where we can find out more about some of your recipes or the way you help people. Tell us.
Yes, that's great. So the best place to learn my recipes and just kind of see what we're doing in my world is my group, which is Practical Meal Planning Moms. And that's a great place to start. And I also we have the Crocktober challenge going on right now. So we're doing, every week or the whole month, we're doing slow cooker or crock pot recipes. But I also love to say, if you don't have a crock pot, but you have an Instant Pot, you also have a slow cooker in your Instant Pot. So either way, this challenge is for you. And I'm sharing crock pot, slow cooker recipes all month long. We're focusing on lunches this week, but next week is dinners and then desserts. And I've had some breakfast recipes. So we're covering everything. And there's vegetarian options and non-vegetarian options. There's something for everybody. So it's just a great challenge, and it's the whole month. So I would love to invite everybody to join me for that. And that's a great place to start.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom with us, Kare. And we'll be around to check out some of those recipes and get some more tips from you.
Excellent. That sounds great.
Thanks for coming. And everybody, if there's something you tried, or what was the thing that stuck out to you that you're like, okay, this is the thing I got to implement this week. One thing. Excellent. What is that thing? Drop it in the comments. Let us know. We'd love to know.
Yes.
Have a great day.
Great. Thank you so much, Emily.